How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Big D podcast on Spunky Spectrum Sports. My name is Alex. I will be with you today, and as make sure if you are logging into Spunky Spectrum Sports on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the page, like the video, comment below, let us know your opinions on the takes we have on the show. And like I said, make sure you subscribe so you see every new episode coming up. But with me as always, we've got Dylan here. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm fine, Alex. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Uh, we already went through free agency. We got some. Now we just passed through the draft. One of the most exciting times of the year. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. I'm excited about that. I'm gonna talk about a couple different things today. I'm excited. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm not sure if you were excited to see what happened at Old Trafford yesterday, where Manchester United supporters darn near rioted, broke every COVID rule in the book yesterday.
Yeah, definitely wasn't. I don't know if riots. I mean, I would have been a small scale riot. I think it was more of a excitable protest, I would say. But it's world football is in a very unique spot right now because of obviously the Super League and how that fell through and the reactions to that. And Manchester United supporters have been Glazers out for quite some time even before the Super League. So, after all this Super League stuff, not telling the fans about anything, not even telling the coaches or players about anything, it was bound to happen. I think everyone knew it was going to happen. It was an organized protest. It was, definitely, they're passionate over there in Europe. I mean, especially these top flight Premier League teams, the top half of the teams, it gets serious, and someone threatens to change how football in England or I mean all across Europe has grown into. I mean, we know it's been this way for years. Top four of the Premier League make Champions League. It's the biggest European tournament in the world. It in my opinion, it seems perfect. And why they would ever try and change that? Obviously, we know it was about greed. It was about money. Why they would try and change that though just blows my mind because it's just. I mean, it seems perfect to me the way it is with you know uh, individual leagues across the different countries in Europe, and then the Champions League and the Europa League to find the best of the best. So I'm not surprised about the protest yesterday. I'm not surprised it happened, but it was unfortunate that it got a little out of control for sure, and that the game had to get postponed.
Were you surprised? Do you think the protest would have happened even if it was the biggest game in England between Liverpool and Manchester United? What if it had been Southampton? Would fans have rioted in the same manner
I
they did yesterday?
like I said, I think it was organized. I think it was planned. I think the reason why the protest was on that day was because it was Liverpool. I mean, if we were playing Southampton or any of those mid to lower table teams, Arsenal, I know. But if it, I think the protest. I'll just say this: the protest was inevitable. Whether it was yesterday or in a couple weeks, they were going to pick a big game for it that had national attention. Honestly, I mean, everyone in the world, every football fan in the world knows the rivalry between Liverpool and United and how big of a game that is. I'm sure it wasn't only England paying attention to that. But the protest was inevitable. I think they picked the Liverpool game because it's Liverpool. If that game happened in 2 weeks, I think the protest would have been in 2 weeks. If it happened next week, it would have been. If the game was next week, it would have happened next week. I think that the choice of the Liverpool game was very calculated for sure.
To be honest, it was in these COVID times where fans aren't even allowed. It was odd seeing United supporters going everywhere, destroying cameras, getting onto the pitch. I think I even heard some reports that some fans went in like the dressing room. I mean, Was that the craziest thing you've ever seen at Old Trafford? And remember, this is a stadium that's hosted umpteen thousand United games. It's hosted Champions League finals. That hosts the best women's football match of my lifetime between Canada and the U.S. 9 years ago at the London Olympics. Is that the craziest thing you've ever seen?
Craziest thing at Old Trafford? No. This didn't surprise me. I mean, maybe it's different for me as a United supporter, but and being so pro Glazers out for the last couple of years. I mean, and especially as an American United supporter, because the Glazers are obviously relevant in the United States as well as they're in England, owning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and especially as a Floridian, the Glazers are local to us. So I mean, I've been very involved. Not, I wouldn't say involved, but I've been very interested in the Glazers out movement. I've been a United supporter for a long time, and when I started watching United, it was the Rooney, Sir Alex Ferguson, Scholes, Giggs era. I mean, it was a completely different world back then. So obviously, after Sir Alex retired, things have changed a little bit. Unfortunately, not quite for the better. But so the Glazers have definitely been a large scapegoat alongside Ed Woodward for United supporters everywhere. So I wasn't. It really wasn't very shocking to me to see. I mean, I was a little surprised to see the fans get on the field. Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, those European soccer fans, Manchester United supporters, they're as loyal as they come. They're as passionate as they come. I mean, football's the world there over to them and to us. And you know, passion when you're passionate about something strong enough, I mean, you're gonna go through a lot of you're gonna do what it takes. And honestly, if they were just to be completely honest with you, if they were just chanting green and gold till the club gets sold and had Glazers out signs yelling at the bus, the message wouldn't have come across as strongly. But the fact that I mean, I think one police officer got hurt. It was for the most part a peaceful protest. It got a little out of hand in a couple different spots, but I mean, there wasn't anyone beating people and really like trying to beat the crap out of people. They were there to make a point, make a statement, and by getting on the pitch, I think honestly it got the message out as loud as it possibly could have. So, I'm not saying break into your local football stadium and score bicycle kicks on the Stretford end, but as I saw on Twitter, a couple people were they brought a lot of soccer balls into that stadium. So there's a couple of fans who had a once in a lifetime opportunity to score at the Stretford end. But I'm not saying you should be breaking into stadiums, but when there's something that you're passionate about, and United supporters are very passionate about the Glazers out movement, it didn't surprise me, and I honestly, it really wasn't even that crazy to me. I mean, give me Rooney's bike over that moment any day against City any day of the week.
So, what do you think will happen? Do you think that there will be changes potentially with the ownership? Because, as you know, the Glazers own the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, there's talk potentially not just with United, but also potentially looking at new ownership because the Cronkies have spent what umpteen billion on that new stadium for the LA Rams. I mean, you wonder if there could be new ownership with Austin. I mean, do you think there'd be any changes at Manchester United as a result? I mean, of course, Ed Woodward left, a few weeks ago.
Right. You know, I think it's more likely now than it has been in more recent years. I mean, obviously the Glazers have burned a lot of money out of that club. They've put a lot of money into it. They've taken a lot of money out of it, and taken even more money out of it, I should say. If it's definitely getting close. I think it's as close as it ever has been to the Glazers selling it. Obviously, Manchester United's biggest club in the world. I mean, in my opinion, it's the biggest club in the world. Hated, adored, but never ignored. Um, I think Do I think the Glazers are going to sell? Obviously, there's changes with the Ed Woodward, so that's one step that United fans are happy about. The Glazers seem pretty happy with their cash cow that they have in Manchester United, and obviously that stock is dropping. Obviously, they don't have the support of the supporters, which I'm not sure if that means that much to them. I think the time is definitely getting closer that they're going to sell. I think it's starting to become a little bit of a headache for them. They know that they're hated by the supporters. They know that they're not that no one is really happy with the Glazers there. Money. I've been seeing reports that shirt sales have been dropping through Adidas for the kits. I mean, it's not as lucrative, I believe, as it has been in years past. I think it's leaning more towards that they might sell. I think that they might want to put their money elsewhere and might just want to get rid of the headache that it's kind of becoming for them, I think.
Maybe the Glazers should let Tom Brady run Manchester United. He seems to be okay. I mean, look at the Bucks that went from no show to Super Bowl. I mean, could Tom Brady be the go-to quarterbacks and ownership?
Boy, if Tom Brady owned took over Manchester United, that'd be a crossover event I didn't see coming. You know, I did see a funny Conor McGregor tweeted right after the Super League. He tweeted, what do you guys think about me purchasing Manchester United? So I'd much rather see McGregor own. You know, he just made what $600 million, I think, selling his whiskey, 500 million, something like that, selling his whiskey company, Proper Number 12. So you know he just had a big influx of cash. You know, I'd rather see, I think, McGregor in charge than Tom Brady, but
Yeah,
you know, keep the city of Tampa Bay away from Manchester United for a little bit, I think.
I think having some Irish whiskey on Tampa, I mean, only United might be better than this awful, pathetic, failed Super League. But that's a story for another day.
That it is. You want to move on? Want to get into the second half of the episode? I think that's a good segue time. So, as I teased a little bit before, you know, NFL New Year. What better time of the year other than opening day is it than the NFL draft? I mean, all 32 teams, this is their chance to build up their rosters with young guys, hopefully pay them hundreds of millions of dollars over the next years when they pan out to be all pros. You know, it's one of the most exciting times of the year, and especially for I see your little Jaguar totem guy behind you. You know, I think no one was more excited this year than Jacksonville Jaguars fans. So, talk to me about the draft. I mean, what were your thoughts from any teams you thought did drafted exceptionally well?
First off, pinch me. Did we take Trevor Lawrence? I'm confused now.
Not only did you take Trevor Lawrence, you took his boy Travis Etienne. Nice little Clemson double dip there in the first round for you.
Death Valley, Death Valley to Duval County.
There you go.
Well, I would say
What do you think about that Etienne bet?
I think well, going back to Florida and Ohio State days, every mile one speed, and Ethan brings a lot of speed. I don't think every mile is just going to use him as a running back. He may be on kick, punt return, potentially a slot guy. I think Ethan brings a lot of mobility. To be honest, I think over mile wanted Kadarius Toney at 25, but the Giants took him at 20. So Ethan's not
Yeah.
a bad plan B, and plus the Lawrence Ethan connections, not bad. But I think there were three or four teams that nailed the draft. I think Jacksonville's draft was really good. Of course, getting Lawrence, but Ethan, the George. I think we drafted the second Georgia corn. Then we drafted a Little from Stanford, who could be interesting. Didn't play in
Mhm.
2020, barely playing 2019, but's got a lot of ability. A big tackle. We desperately need linemen there. And then fourth round drafted a potential steal of a defensive lineman. But there were three or four other teams that nailed their drafts. One of them was Cleveland. I mean, the Browns have done a great job in the offseason
Yep.
getting defensive backs galore, and then in the first round they got Newsom, the corner from Northwestern, and then in the second round they drafted the linebacker out of Notre Dame, Jeremiah Russo Moore, who many people thought could have been a day one pick, ended up being late second round. So Cleveland has
Yeah.
really shored up its defense. Another team that did well in draft day, the LA Chargers. I don't know how
Yeah.
Rashawn Slater fell to them at 13, but I think whether he's a tackle or guard, Slater will be a big presence in Justin Herbert's potential. And then getting Asante Samuel, the Chargers in at a corner. And many people felt Samuel would have been a day one pick. They got him in the middle second round. And then the Chargers also drafted Josh Palmer out of Tennessee, brings a lot of potential. I mean, you may not watch college football like I do, but Tennessee's quarterback situation in the last few years has been ugly.
Yeah.
It's been bad. And I think Palmer's got a
Yeah.
lot of
Absolutely.
ability. And the third team that nailed this draft, you may think I'm crazy. You may
Yeah.
think I'm nutty. The Miami Dolphins absolutely nailed the draft. And
I was hoping you'd say that.
I really loved your first two picks. I think Jalen Waddle and Tua will be honest with you right now. I think Jalen Waddle will lead the NFL in 50-yard touchdowns. Sorry, Cheetah, but I think Jalen Waddle could be very interesting because there's one thing Tua did well in Alabama was throw the deep ball.
Yeah.
What can Jalen Waddle do?
Run. And catch a deep run past the defensive back and catch a deep ball.
Yeah. And also at 18, I really like Jalen Phillips. I know he dealt with a lot of knee injuries at UCLA, but I think he's got a lot of potential. I mean, how often do you find the best pass rusher in the draft at 18? Usually they're like at 3 or 4,
Yep.
not
Yep.
18. And then in the second round, you drafted Holland, a safety from Oregon, and Leon Etchenberg, who a lot of people thought could have been a late day one, early day two pick. Some people even thought the Jags might take him at 33, but Etchenberg will help Miami build even more depth on his D line. And then you drafted the Hunter Long, the tight end of
Yep.
Boston College in the third round. So we're going to find out this year how good Tua is because there aren't any excuses now. You've got
Absolutely.
the you've got the offensive line. You've got more than enough weapons. I mean, trust me. Look at Miami's weapons; they're way better than a few other teams.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed your picks. I think those three teams did a fantastic job. It's going to be a little hard to follow up because those were pretty much the teams that I was going to talk about a little bit. But just to bounce off, obviously, I got to talk about my boys. You know, I think our first four. Sorry, my camera bugged out for a second. I think our first four picks, honestly, could have potentially in the right spots been first rounders. I mean, I the work that Chris Greer did in this draft. If you told me the day before that the Miami Dolphins would have selected Jalen Waddle at 6 without trading back, I would have been a little disappointed. But after the dust settles and after I'm looking at our draft and I look at Jalen Waddle and I'm reading these quotes from Chris Greer and Brian Flores, Jalen Waddle was their number one receiver. Jalen Waddle was their number 2 guy on their board behind Trevor Lawrence, from what I'm hearing. Kyle Pitts, if he was there, who knows if Kyle Pitts would have been the pick over Jalen Waddle. But I really, and obviously general managers are always going to say that the guy that they picked was the guy that they wanted. They're never going to be like, oh, we didn't want this guy, but he was the guy there, so we took him. But I mean, when you really think about it and think about the team that the Miami Dolphins have, Jalen Waddle just seems to fit in perfectly with what we needed. I mean, you've got Devontae Parker on the outside, you've got Preston Williams on the outside, you've got Kenny Stills, who obviously is the speed
Kenny
demon. Miami.
Stills is gone.
I just said Kenny Stills. I'm
What
sorry.
year is it?
Well,
20.
I'm mixing up my Houston Texan receivers. Yeah, obviously I meant Will Fuller, the speed demon that's hopefully going to be what we all hoped Jakeem Grant was, but didn't have the hands to be, as long as he stays healthy. And now you've got this electric player in Jalen Waddle who you can really move around the offense. He doesn't, I mean, obviously he's going to be a great asset for the slot. Hit him on the quick slants and let him just book off and make a play. Obviously everyone said Tua's a slant throwing quarterback. He can't throw the deep ball in the NFL. But if you've got a guy like Jalen Waddle who you can hit on a five-yard in route or a quick slant or a drag across the middle, and that man makes one player miss, he could
Goodbye.
be gone. I mean, so you look at the other receivers that the big top three. Jamar Chase, is he a great talent receiver? Absolutely. Would he have been the best fit in Miami? He's a great receiver, but when you're really looking at it, I really think Jalen Waddle, and then you also look at Devontae Smith. Obviously, great talent, Heisman Trophy winner, catches everything that's thrown to him. However, you look at the other receivers on the roster. Is he as good of a fit as Jalen Waddle? I don't think so. Chris Greer didn't think so, and I think a lot of Dolphins fans are very happy after the dust settled and very excited to see Tua throw to Jalen Waddle. Jalen Phillips again. You pick the Miami boy, you keep him in Miami. I mean, obviously he had to medically retire while he was playing college football. A little bit of risk there with the injury history in the past, but if that man stays healthy, he could be the next Jason Taylor. I mean, it's I really do think that the man has extreme talent rushing the quarterback, extreme talent on that defensive end spot. Obviously Miami traded away a defensive end in the offseason to pick up that I can never remember it.
McKinney.
Is it McKinney? I guess it is McKinney. Yeah, from Houston. So a pass rusher was definitely something we needed, and like you said, I mean, I think we got the best one in the draft at 18. Doesn't happen very often. And then shout out, I love the Liam Etchenberg pick, and then shout out that Hunter Long pick. Mel Kiper loves him. Obviously, Mel Kiper has some hit or miss takes, but I mean, he's the number one guy in the business for a reason, in the draft business for a reason. So, if he says that Hunter Long was his number two tight end behind Kyle Pitts, I'm happy with him at 81 overall. But it's just crazy looking at this draft. You got the 2 first rounders, the 2 second rounders, a third rounder, and then 2 seventh rounders. Did a bunch of trading during the Miami Dolphins draft, but I really think we picked up a 4th round pick from Pittsburgh, I believe, in next year's draft. I think after that 3rd round, they saw their picks. They were really happy. They want to add that draft capital, like we know Chris Greer loves to do, and they said, "Screw it, we'll just wait till the 7th round and pick a couple more guys." So, I love the Miami Dolphins draft class, and like you said, and you hit the nail on the head. And you said Tua has no excuses this year. I mean, this might be the strongest offense I've ever seen as a Miami Dolphin fan, and I think it's Tua's time to shine.
So, what team do you say didn't have that strong of a draft?
A team that didn't, the one thing that jumps out at me is obviously when we were talking before the draft, you had a take that Mac Jones was gonna go 3, and obviously San Francisco went with Trey Lance. Mac Jones started dropping. and he fell to New England, and New England decided to take the chance on the Alabama quarterback. I really don't know if he's the guy. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be the guy for the Bill Belichick offense. Obviously, if anyone can if anyone can pull a quarterback together, it's going to be Bill. But I'm not so sure that New England really did enough to make the step in the because the AFC East is looking tough, man. I mean, obviously they had a good free agency, but I was a little disappointed in their draft. I'm not gonna lie. I think I mean Mac Jones. Who knows? He could surprise me. I wasn't as high on Mac Jones as I think a lot of people were, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in New England with him, Cam. I mean, obviously there's been the Garoppolo rumors, but I'm not so sure that that is the guy for them. But who's a team that you didn't weren't too pleased with their draft?
Hmm. I don't know if there were teams that absolutely stunk on draft day. There were a couple of draft picks that befuddled me. The Raiders taking Alex Leatherwood at 17 didn't make a whole lot of sense. Trying to think.
Right.
I was surprised the Broncos didn't take a quarterback in this draft because, be honest, when the Broncos were on the clock at 9, I'm thinking they're going to take Justin Fields, and I'm like, Justin Fields is going to be in Denver. And then the Broncos took Patrick Surtain, which probably made the Cowboys make a couple moves. But I mean, I think most teams got what they needed. I mean, it's a question. I mean,
I'll tell you a
go ahead.
Sorry, I'll tell you a team who didn't do much in the draft, and that's Seattle. And the only reason why I say that is they had 3 picks in the entire draft.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, because
they
of the
picked
Jamal Adams move.
yeah. So Seattle had picked 56 overall in the second round. They picked a receiver who I find very interesting because obviously DK Metcalf is one of the most talented young up and coming receivers in the NFL. Tyler Lockett has been a very solid 1A, 1B guy, depending on who they're playing. With only having limited options, I'm not so sure a wide receiver was the best option for them. They drafted, and then they had to wait for the 4th round where they drafted Trey Brown, cornerback out of Oklahoma. I and then in the 6th round, an offensive tackle from Florida. I mean, 3 picks. I mean, I guess Seattle is either. I mean, they didn't really have much of a choice, but I guess they didn't see. This was a stacked draft. I mean, like you said, it's hard to pick teams that really blew this draft because there was so much talent in this draft. I think this has been one of the most loaded drafts that I've seen in a long time. So I feel like we're almost nitpicking a little bit here. But just the fact that with Seattle knowing they only had 3 picks and taking a receiver with their first selection was a little confusing for me.
But then again, it's
But
just like the Seahawks always in Super Bowl contention.
right. I guess if you're one of those teams that can always add a little flair picks every once in a while, but just interesting that I don't necessarily think receiver was a position of need for them, and only having 3 picks, picking one with that first selection did throw me off a little bit. Green Bay not taking a quarterback was a little interesting.
Well,
Uh,
wait a minute. You're saying Green Bay not taking a
oh no
quarterback?
no
They
no no
took
no my
one
fault.
last year.
They took one last year. That's right. My fault. You're right.
I mean,
Threw me.
at this rate, you want Aaron Rodgers hosting Jeopardy?
I mean, I don't. What's going on with him? It doesn't really seem like he wants to be in Green Bay. I mean, if they think, uh, if they're happy with I can't even remember who they drafted last year. It's
Jordan
Jordan Love,
Love.
right? Jordan Love. I mean, it's an interesting boat over there in Green Bay right now. That's for sure. Because one of my best friends over here in Fort Myers is a Packers fan, and he is nervous for what's gonna happen with that.
What
But
does he think that Aaron Rodgers is going to the AFC West?
I don't know. I'm almost wondering, is he gonna retire?
Ooh.
I mean, it doesn't seem like the cap space isn't great for a team I mean, if Green Bay cut him, it'd be a huge hit to them. If they trade him, it's a big contract to move. I mean, the Aaron Rodgers situation is very, very interesting right now. I'm very interested to see how that works out because I mean he does not seem happy at all. But it's crazy to think about him playing for another team. Obviously he was very honored to be the host of Jeopardy, and I think he's said he would be very interested in taking that role full time. I mean, can you do that and play in the NFL? Does he really like that hosting Jeopardy job that much? I mean, obviously the man can get a job until the day he dies, whether it's analyst or in the booth or even coaching if he wanted to, I'm sure. I mean, who knows? But I mean, Aaron Rodgers is an interesting guy. Would he hang him up to host Jeopardy? Who knows? I mean,
I personally think Aaron Rodgers is going to Denver because you look at it, who finished his Hall of Fame career in Denver?
Peyton Manning,
And what do the Broncos need right now?
quarterback.
Yeah. And what do the Broncos have that the Packers want? A young,
Was it
skilled receiver in Jerry Judy.
you think? Yeah, I mean, for the reigning MVP of the league, that's going to be one of the biggest hauls I think that we've seen, and there's been a lot of big hauls lately. But I mean, if Denver can make that happen, props to them. Obviously, I mean, Aaron Rodgers may not be in his prime. He might be a little past his prime, but he's still Aaron Rodgers, and any team in the league would be happy to have him. So, it'd be crazy to see him wearing a different uniform, but I mean, you make good points there with Denver.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Aaron Rodgers winds up, whether it's in Green Bay, Denver, or Jeopardy. So, thanks for hopping on the podcast, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thanks for having me, Dylan. Always a great time.